For this one has been counted worthy of more glory than Moses, inasmuch as he who built the house has more honor than the house. For every house is built by someone, but he who built all things is God. And Moshe indeed was faithful in all his house as a servant, for as a testimony of those things which would be spoken of afterwards. But Mashiach as a son over his own house, whose house we are. The writer of Hebrews is giving us perspective that can change the course of our future. And that's by telling us we are the house of God. That puts the responsibility of who I am, what I choose to do, what I choose to bring into this temple of the highest regard. Then the New Testament talks about this a lot. You know, it's interesting, the Tanakh doesn't come out with this kind of verbiage in regard to, hey, we're the temple of the living God. But as you get into the New Testament, this revelation unfolds. In Ephesians 2:19, we read, now therefore you are no longer strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints and members of what? The household of God. Here you have this Jew speaking to Gentiles who are proclaimed, they have confessed Yeshua as the Messiah, and he's saying, you're part of the house. You make up the house of God. 1 Timothy chapter 3, verse 14, these things I write to you, though I hope to come to you shortly, but if I'm delayed, I write so that you may know how you ought to conduct yourself in the house of God. What is the house of God? Which is the church, the ecclesia of the living God. It's the church, the pillar and ground of truth. Who is the ecclesia? It is us. It is spiritual Israel. And I want to show you one more, and really this is the one I want to focus on because it ties directly back to what the writer of Hebrews is telling us. In 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 16, do you not know that you are the temple of God? Paul is talking to Gentiles. He's upset, and he's reminding them, don't you get it? You're the temple of God. Why are we the temple of God? He goes on, and that the Spirit of God dwells in you. Do you understand why we are called the temple of God? See, this is all part of the prophecy. This is why we don't find this kind of terminology being spoken of all over the Tanakh. Because the prophet said a time was coming. You read the prophet Joel, where I will pour out my Spirit on all flesh, your sons and daughters. I mean, this is part of the new covenant, which was enacted through Yeshua. And so here we have this awesome thing, and Paul's waking the Gentiles up. Do you even understand who you are in Messiah Yeshua? Do you understand what's happened? The Spirit of God has come to dwell, to inhabit you, to be inside of you. Goes on. And look at this. Okay, so he lays out the reality. You are the temple of God. Now Paul responds with a warning. If anyone defiles the temple of God, God will destroy him, for the temple of God is holy, which temple you are. Just a frightening warning. The very same structure that you see Paul present here is exactly the structure that we see being presented in Hebrews 3, verse 6. The writer of Hebrews comes out, he brings an awareness, he brings the reality. Guess what? You are the temple of God, my brethren. You are it. But look at this warning. If we hold fast the confidence and the rejoicing of the hope firm to the end. If. That is the warning. Only if you do this. Now you look at this in the Greek and it's aeon. Aeon indicates, you can see it every time, it indicates that the statement before is conditional. You understand that? This is very important. Aeon is indicating, it's telling you this is conditional. And I got to tell you, that word is becoming anathema in the church. They don't want to hear that anything is conditional, especially salvation. In fact, under this umbrella of Calvinism, this is growing. This is a progressive movement stating that salvation is unconditional. You can say a prayer, you can mean it, you can really come into relationship with Yeshua, But how you act in the future, the things you say, the things you do, you partake in, will not matter. At the end of the day, it's not going to matter. You know why? Because your salvation's unconditional. Somebody should tell the writer of Hebrews this, because he says, Aeon, if it is very, very conditional, whether you like it or not. Salvation is very, very conditional. And then you say, well, Daniel, you know what? I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't want to live in fear, Daniel. I don't want to live my time in this age in the fear like I'm walking on eggshells all the time. Yes, you do. Because it's by the fear of the Lord one departs from evil. You need the fear of God. It will keep you from sin. And do you know, you read Psalm 103? And do you know that mercy only rests upon those who have the fear of God? Do you want the grace? Do you want the mercy? It only rests on those who have the fear of the living God. So what I'm telling you is when you see these two little letters, if, 3 in Greek, aeon, when you see, pay attention because it's a warning. It's telling you this is conditional. Therefore, consider the goodness and the severity of God. Most of Christianity, they want to embrace the goodness. And for that, I commend them. We need the goodness. We need to focus on the goodness. That's where the hope is, isn't it? It's a good thing to focus on the love, the mercy, and the grace. See, every time my knees hit the floor and I'm asking for forgiveness, I'm focused on this goodness. I'm knowing that this goodness is afforded to me, and any person in this room and any person in the world calls upon the name of Yeshua and confesses their sin, he is faithful and just to forgive them. The beautiful goodness of God. However, you cannot focus on the grace and mercy of God at the expense of the severity of God. And this word, when you look at it in this word in the Greek, it really refers to harshness, wrath. This is what it refers to. So we are to consider the loving, the beautiful, gracious nature of our Lord, and at the same time, do not forget his wrath.
Hey there, this is Mike at Corner Fringe Ministries. Thanks for watching our video. If you liked the video or it encouraged you, do us a favor. Hit the like button, don't forget to hit the share, and if you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe button. Now, if you want to watch the rest of this video, hit the button here. And if you want to watch the rest of this series, you can check it out here. And don't forget, you can download the Corner Fringe Ministries app today on any of your Play stores. Thanks for joining us at Corner Fringe Ministries.